What's going on, workforce? Brian here, and today I want to talk about the fate system in Final Fantasy XIV. You guys have really responded to my, DPS queue time sucked video, and in fact, some of your comments have really enlightened some of my thoughts, and I want to, follow that up with a community feedback, really kind of focus in on your comments. So keep an eye out for that, but one comment in particular kind of launched just this rabbit hole of ideas that I felt like, you know what, I'm going to break down and I want to share them with you, and I want to get your thoughts and have that conversation about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just do this thing. So this all kind of really kicks off from a comment made by Mr. Beartown. So they say, is it weird that I don't actually mind the DPS queue times? Everyone says they're horrible, but on average I only wait about 15 to 20 minutes on a bad day. While queuing, I can just do hunts to help with leveling, beast tribes, gold saucer, or craft. I also just need to go kill anything that really moves. And it's in that concept that we have the fate system as well. And so with Stormblood, they introduced the ability to have fates that can give even more XP, and they kind of have some optional objectives. So moving, I think, in a really good direction as far as that is concerned. And so there's just a couple of points that I want to talk about right here. So we have the idea that the fates and the relic system, we've had that in the past. We also have the failure of diadem, and really kind of what about it was fun. XP issues with, when XP is not needed. And then just an idea that I really wanted to see in this game from the beginning, which is World Fates. So we're going to break up this video kind of in these 4 different categories and hopefully try to cover them all within a reasonable amount of time. If for some reason we run out and it's just, forever long video, I'll either split this up in parts or I'll just break each topic into its own video, but I don't think we're going to get there with that. But first, let's look at how fates and the relic weapon system have been used in the past. And so for ARR and even for Heavensward, around this time, we're coming up on 4.15, they would introduce a new relic weapon, and it typically started off with fate grinding, kind of quest line, meaning where we used to use all this XP in the past, now we're going back and doing those fates to have a particular drop that can happen, randomly in those. And so it re-incentivized people to get back out in the world and go run these fates. And that was great, but it only really lasts for a time because it's, you typically when that happens, you see this huge rush. Now with Stormblood, they've kind of talked about that we're going to see this land called Eureka, and that's going to be heavily involved with the relic grind this time around, but that's now been delayed either to 4.2 or 4.25. So we still got a while away, sometime in 2018, that we're going to see that come into play. But that in and of itself also doesn't leave me with a lot of confidence, namely because they say that Eureka is kind of this evolution of the diadem, and the diadem, by all since the term, I think was a failure. It came in with 4.1. They had to end up retooling it. So by 4.5, 4.5, by 3.5, it ended up just kind of being there, and then now it's not. There's no real big incentive to go into it. There were a lot of interesting ideas. It was basically kind of this open world, free roam kind of gameplay where it matched you with a party, an 8-man, and then you got to go in and do it. And I even made a video around that time saying, like, man, I really want 8-man dungeons, and this is kind of what kind of ties into that. But you had these higher level mobs, you had all these kind of like boss level fates that, for the most part were still Zergfest, but there was still a bit of challenge in fighting these different enemies and these different objectives. And it was really quite fascinating. But the real takeaway here was the fact that we had lockboxes, both broken and then and then you could decipher those for a random roll, almost kind of like your Destiny 2 engram, almost like, the loot box or things like that. It was that you can get these rewards and there was this additional randomness to it, which is exciting. So we have that right now in the game, but it's really not an active activity. We then have the concept of the, the Palace of the Dead, the Horde, and so you can roll and random on that. And so we have these like pieces that have been put into place. And so I would love to see that brought into just regular fates, like when giving us an incentive and a type of reward that we can get from just running them out in the world. I'd also like to see the diadem fates, the styles where you have additional ones with additional difficulty brought in and then indicated on the map that they were there, thus making it like, hey, this is a blue fate, but now we have a red fate, and a red fate has different levels and tiers. I actually really have always enjoyed the fate system. What I typically see, especially when I talk about this kind of thing, is that people who definitely fake grind for that experience, who spend a lot of time running these fates themselves, you get burned out. And that is the reality. And that kind of brings it all back into play. If we're going to have these DPS queue times, let's have plenty of options to, to do while we're waiting in queue. And obviously, this is one of them. This is what breaks this down itself. And so the next part of what I want to talk about was, again, the XP issue when you don't need XP. When you're at level 70, when you're at cap, even when you're DPS and you're waiting to get that expert roulette or wait to get that Omega or wait whatever content you're waiting and you're in queue for, fates have no value for you. And that's where I think the lockboxes could come in and help fix that problem. But they should also be able to reward you with endgame currency. Not into the degree in which that you're going to be more efficient than the dungeon for the creation or whatever the new current high-end tombstone that we're trying to collect is, but mostly for the simple and ultimate fact that you could go in and say, well, if I'm going to go in and run this dungeon, maybe I can get 10 tomes by doing several fates between the time that my dungeon pops. Not the most efficient, but at least giving you something to work on outside of crafting, outside of gathering. No, you want to craft, you want to gather, you want to go do, especially what Mr. Baritone said with what he's working on. That's great. Those are great options. I just think that they could utilize the fate system more so than anything else. And outside of endgame currency, I'd love to know what would incentivize you outside of relic and outside of XP to go and run fates. Are we talking about varying weekly challenges? We got the challenge log. There is a fate mechanic to it, but at the end of the day, it could be so much more, and that's where I want to have that conversation. What would drive you guys to do these fates? Is it endgame currency? Is it special titles? Is it a particular story of a fate chain and things of that nature? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below and let's have that conversation. Now, the last piece that I kind of introduced at the beginning of this video was the concept of world fates. I would love to see something that unites us all as a server together. Some concept that as everybody is doing something, we're all contributing to this world fate that, on an ideal perspective should take a week to complete. From a competition perspective, I would still like to see that maybe all the servers on the data center are competing and being scored on this. This topic in and of itself takes a lot more nuance. We could break it down with all kinds of ideas on how to make it fair, what kind of rewards should it be. But that's one of the things that to this point I feel is completely lacking in the overall unity of the server. Something that no matter what you're doing, whether you're killing marmots on a low-level job out in Ulda, or you're beating Omega for the 100th time, all of that is contributing to this global goal that our server has. And how do we rank up against other servers either of similar sizes or other servers that are contained and connected in our data center, thus giving us a sense of pride, thus giving us a goal and an objective, but something that we can see that would encourage that open worldness style content that the fate in and of itself brings to the game completely, and thus something to do while we're also waiting in queue. And that's just something that I feel that Final Fantasy XIV would completely benefit from. And again, I could be completely wrong. Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on this or anything that I talked about in today's video. For Work to Game, my name's Brian. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, I hope you have a fantastic day, and take care.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Brian, you think there's anywhere they could catch us in the meantime?
Right now, Chris, we're probably on Twitch. If it's probably in the afternoon, it could be you. Sometimes you see my face. And we also found this random guy, named Kevin on the street somewhere.
I accidentally left my password written on the side of my car.
Oh man, that was really a big mistake. But guys, we really appreciate it if you guys hit the link in the description below for our Twitch page. We'd love to see you over there. And you can even subscribe to us over on Twitch.
If you're Amazon Prime, that could even be free.
Oh my gosh, what a deal.
Well, cool. Well, thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.